Back in the golden age of American horsepower, before emissions laws, fuel crises, and computer-controlled efficiency, engineers weren't thinking small. Quite the opposite. From the 1960s to the 1990s, Detroit automakers were cramming some of the largest engines ever seen into street-legal passenger cars. These weren't trucks or dragsters. These were cars you could buy off the showroom floor and take your grandma to church in the next day. Today, we're counting down the top 10 largest engines ever installed in American production cars. No swaps, no concept cars. These are the real deal. Buckle up. Number 10, Chrysler Wedge V8, 413 cubic inch and 6.8 liters. We start the list with a bit of a sleeper, the 413 cubic inch Chrysler Wedge. Introduced in 1959, this engine powered everything from full-size Chryslers to ambulances and police cars. But the real gem? The 1960 Chrysler 300F. This wasn't just a luxury car, it was a rocket in disguise, with 375 horsepower and cross-ram intake manifolds that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. The 413 laid the groundwork for Chrysler's dominance in both muscle and Mopar madness throughout the 1960s. Number 9, Chevrolet 427 ZL1 L88, 427 cubic inches, in a 7.0-liter engine. Chevrolet's 427 is legendary, but the L88 and ZL1 versions, they're next level. The L88 was a racing engine disguised as a street engine. Chevy downplayed its performance to avoid scaring buyers or alerting regulators. On paper, 430 horsepower. In reality, closer to 560. And the ZL1, all aluminum. Only 2 Corvettes got it. It was a $4,000 engine option in 1969. That's nearly $35,000 today. These engines made the Corvette and COPO Camaros of the late 60s absolute beasts. Rare, expensive, and brutally fast. Number 8, Chrysler 426 Hemi, 426 cubic inches in a 7.0-liter engine. You knew it would show up on this list, the 426 Hemi. Nicknamed the Elephant Engine because of its size and power, the Street Hemi was born from NASCAR domination. With its hemispherical combustion chambers, massive ports, and 425 factory horsepower, this thing turned every Plymouth and Dodge it touched into a street legend. But it was also expensive and finicky. You had to adjust the valves regularly. It ran rough in traffic, and it didn't like low octane. This was no commuter motor, unless you were commuting to the drag strip, that is. Number 7, Ford 429 Cobra Jet, 429 cubic inches in 7.0 liters. In the war for muscle car supremacy, Ford dropped the 429 Cobra Jet into the Torino Cobra and Mustang Boss 429. This engine was big, but not just in size. It had canted valves, massive heads, and 370 to 375 horsepower depending on trim. The Boss 429 Mustang was barely a Mustang at all. Ford had to widen the front end and re-engineer the shock towers just to fit the thing. Fun fact, the car actually underperformed until you modified it. But once you did, you had a world-class street brawler. Number 6, Chrysler RB440, 440 cubic inches and 7.2 liters. The 440 wasn't Chrysler's flashiest engine, but it was its most versatile. It powered everything from the Dodge Charger RT to the Chrysler Imperial, and even station wagons. Available in everything from 4-barrel to 6-pack carb setups, it delivered massive torque with effortless delivery. Mopar fans swear by it because it was reliable, easy to upgrade, and sounded incredible with straight pipes. This was a big block you could actually live with. Number 5, Chevy 454 LS5 LS6, 454 cubic inches in 7.4 liters. When Chevy decided to go full beast mode, they built the 454 LS6. In the 1970 Chevelle SS, this thing made a ridiculous 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. It was the peak of the muscle car era, the moment before insurance rates and government regulations crashed the party. These cars were brutally fast, especially for the time. quarter miles in the low 13s, sometimes 12s with slicks, and they were street legal. Number 4. GM 455 V8, Buick, Olds, Pontiac, 455 cubic inches and 7.5 liters. 3 divisions, 1 displacement, and very different personalities. Buick's 455 made an eye-watering 510 pound-feet of torque. The Oldsmobile 455 was smooth and durable, and Pontiac's version had serious top-end power. The Buick GSX could roast the tires all the way through second gear without even trying. That's luxury muscle done right. Each one had its quirks, but all 3 455s proved that GM knew how to build torque monsters. Number 3. Ford 460 V8, 460 cubic inches and 7.5 liters. You won't find this one in any muscle car, but you will find it in Lincoln Continentals, LTDs, and Ford wagons. The 460 wasn't built to scream. It was made to cruise. Smooth, silent, and confident. It made up to 365 horsepower in early versions and soldiered on through the 1990s in everything from cars to RVs. If you wanted to tow your boat and bring your entire family in comfort, this was the engine. Number 2. Cadillac 472 V8, 472 cubic inches and 7.7 liters. In 1968, Cadillac dropped the 472 into the DeVille and Fleetwood. It wasn't about speed though, it was about effortlessness. You could be doing 80 miles per hour on the freeway and not even hear the engine. That was the Cadillac promise. Smooth, quiet dominance. This engine then set the stage for something even bigger. Number 1. Cadillac 500 V8, 500 cubic inches and 8.2 liters. Here it is, the King. The biggest engine ever installed in an American passenger car, the Cadillac 500. Introduced in 1970 in the Eldorado, it made 400 horsepower and 550 pound-feet of torque in early versions. That's diesel truck territory, and it was powering a luxury coupe. Later versions were detuned for emissions, but it still holds the crown for biggest displacement in a production car. This wasn't a muscle engine, it was a torque factory built for cruising in style, and it was absolutely glorious. Alright, before we wrap up, let's get a little unhinged. These next engines weren't sold in production cars, but they were real, they were massive, and they were just too wild not to mention. This is the too big to be street legal bonus round. Let's start with an absolute monster, the GMC 702 V12, better known as the Twin 6. It was literally 2 inline 6-truck engines fused together into a V12, used in medium-duty trucks from 1960 to 1965. 702 cubic inches, or 11.5 liters. It made just 275 horsepower, but get this, over 630 pound-feet of torque at just 1,600 RPM. This engine was never put in a production car, but rumor has it, a few hot rodders swapped them into custom builds just for the flex. Next, the 1963 Chrysler turbine car. Only 55 were made, and it ran on anything: kerosene, jet fuel, even whiskey. It didn't have displacement because it was literally a jet engine. It made about 130 horsepower, but 425 pound-feet of torque instantly. No pistons, no spark plugs, no radiator, just turbine blades screaming away. Chrysler let people test drive them across the country as part of a wild experiment, but sadly, almost all were destroyed. You may have heard of the 572, Chevrolet's 572 cubic inch big block V8. It's one of the most famous crate engines ever built. While it was never offered in a production car, it's become the ultimate swap candidate for hot rods and drag cars. Over 620 horsepower in base form, upwards of 700 with mods, and it sounds like thunder with open headers. It's modern built, but very much in the spirit of the big block era. And speaking of 572, yes, there are aftermarket Hemi 572s out there as well. Companies like Mopar Performance and Indy Cylinder Head built them for drag racers and collectors who wanted the absolute max from a vintage block. So there you have it. From Cadillac's 500-cube land yachts to experimental jet cars and Frankenstein truck engines, the golden age of American muscle was just plain bigger. Let us know in the comments. Would you rather own a 426 Hemi Superbird, a 454 Chevelle, or a one-off twin-six hot rod? If you enjoyed this trip into American excess, hit that like button and subscribe for more vintage horsepower every week. And we'll see you in the next one.